Frequently asked question number 53. Why is my red succulent turning green in color? Now, the reason behind that, the most common reason would be water. A perfectly watered succulent will almost lose all of their color from whatever it is. If it's orange, red, blue, purple, it will start reverting back to plain green in color. So if you're looking out for the color, consider not watering your succulent quite often or giving a little bit more of light. Now this process is called as the stressing of succulents. So when you tend to give little less water, more of sunlight, morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours and little less of watering, that is when your succulents will start to turn more intense in color, depending if it is a colored succulent. If it's a Haworthia or if it's a green colored succulent, then those succulents will not change the color. I'm talking about succulents that do have anthocyanin, especially a lot of these hybrid Echeverias, Agoides, sedums and Graptopelaums, Graptoverias. They have these intense colors which tend to intensify as and when you tend to give them less water. But guys, don't be in a hurry just because you want those colors, because remember, if you are not going to water it at the proper watering schedule, there is a high chance that the succulent will get dehydrated. So basically you need to have a little bit of experience when you're handling such things, because there is a very fine line between stressing your succulent and dehydrating your succulent. So only if you're very comfortable and you are confident about it, only then do it, or else it's best to do this during the winters. Please don't try this method during the summers, because we already know the summers are very dry and warm and the sun can be really strong. So avoid doing any of these experiments during the summer season. Probably you can try this during the winter season when the climate is cool. You don't need to water much. The succulent is already dormant, so you can try this during the winter season compared to the any other seasons. So basically, the more sunlight you give, the less water you give, the succulent will start to stress and it will start putting out colors. And yes, if you're going to add fertilizers, that again is not going to help color your succulent. Feeding your succulent will again de-stress it. Basically, it's not going to be in stress when it tends to get fertilizer. So a lot of times people are confused when they tend to buy fertilizers. They see the label beautifully colored succulents, but actually it's going to be the opposite. If you are going to add fertilizers, it's basically like you're feeding your plant and your plant will not turn that brightly red in color. The colors only appear when you tend to stress your succulents. Basically, less watering, not much fertilizers, and a good amount of morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours after acclimating it will give you that beautiful red color. Like you can see over here, this is my Agoides. But guys, you also need to understand, that's why I said you need to have an experience, because if you are going to stress it too much, you might end up having a lot of burns on the leaves, or the succulent will start to get dehydrated. So you have to be extremely careful how and when you tend to do it. So the ideal time, if you want to stress, if you want to get that color, so even naturally as well, the succulents will get that color as and when the temperatures tend to cool down, when there is a good amount of light, when you tend to water the succulent less, automatically, naturally, the colors will get, the succulents will get colored. Now guys, I'm not saying that you have to stress your succulents in order to get the color, because at times if you do not have a lot of experience, you might happen to damage the succulents rather than getting the color. So you have to be extremely careful. So my advice would be, if you want it to get colored, wait for winters, wait for the temperatures to cool down, because when the temperatures tend to cool down, even then you can provide it a little bit more of sunlight. Like for example, during winters I expose my succulents for at least like usually during summers I give them sunlight until 11 AM, but when the winters come in, the temperatures get a little cold, the sun is not very strong, so I tend to give them sunlight until 12:30 noon. But during summers I don't do that, and during winters any which ways the soil tends to take a lot of time to dry. It stays barely moist, so I do not water it quite often, and that is another reason why the succulents also tend to stress. So you have to be extremely careful that in order to get that color, don't be in so much of hurry that you actually damage the succulent. You have to be extremely careful. But if your succulent is changing its color from red to green, that basically either means that your succulent is getting into its growing season, or you have been giving a little bit more water than what it needs, and due to which it's not getting stressed anymore and it is absorbing that water, due to which that color red will start to fade off, which is again absolutely normal for the succulent to get into its green color. It's absolutely normal, but you have to watch out that you do not water your succulent too much, otherwise that could lead to overwatering. So guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and thank you so much for watching.